Movie Recaps presents Blade. The movie opens in 1967. A tragic prelude unfolds as a gravely injured pregnant woman arrives at the hospital. Amidst the chaos, her baby boy is born, but she passes away, marking the beginning of a dark saga. Fast forward 30 years and we meet Dennis, a young man navigating the underworld of Los Angeles with a sultry redhead named Raquel. They arrive at a nightclub shrouded in mystery and housed in a slaughterhouse. Amidst the club's surreal setting, Dennis tries to enjoy himself, but soon realizes that this is not just a club, but a club for vampires. In a desperate bid for survival, Dennis meets Blade, a half-vampire that they call Daywalker. Blade tears through the vampires, unleashing havoc and turning the undead to ash. Amidst the chaos, Dennis witnesses Blade's fierce battle with a vampire named Quinn, who was the right-hand man of a villainous vampire named Frost. Blade sets Quinn on fire and flees the scene. Cops show up, put Quinn out, and take him to the hospital. At the hospital, we meet Dr. Karen Jensen and her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Webb. They examine the burnt body, and Quinn rises and tears into Curtis's throat. He then grabs Karen and bites her. Suddenly, Blade is there, and he punches Quinn and cuts his arm off. As they fight, police come in and shoot at Blade. Quinn jumps out of a window and escapes. Blade deals with the cops and is going to leave Karen because she was bitten, but he decides to take her with him. Blade drives to his hideout and we meet Whistler, an older man who works with Blade. Whistler is surprised that Blade brought her with him and tries to treat her condition. Somewhere in a boardroom, we meet the top vampires as they discuss what happened at the club. They bring in Frost for questioning, and he berates them and says that they should be enslaving humans, not making deals with them. The main vampire, Dragonetti, warns Frost against further foolishness, and Frost leaves. The next day, Karen wakes up and looks at some of Blade's things. She sees Whistler giving a shot to Blade, and he reacts with convulsions. They notice her, and she tries to run, but is stopped by them. They tell her that she is not a prisoner and they just had to take certain precautions before they let her go. They tell her about the existence of vampires, and they explain that vampires are allergic to silver, sunlight, and garlic. They give her vampire mace and tell her to get out of town because she has been exposed to the vampires and someone will take her out. Blade takes her and they leave. At the Vampire Collective, Dragonetti confronts Frost again about his rudeness and ridicules his interest in the legend of the Blood God that he is trying to translate. Blade drops Karen off in the street, and she goes to her place and starts packing. Suddenly a cop appears and says that he is checking in on her because it was reported that she was kidnapped from the hospital. She brushes it off, but the cop attacks her. Blade appears and pummels the cop, who is actually a, quote, familiar. These are humans who serve vampires. Through the conflict, the cop gets away because of Karen, and Blade tells her that she better wake up. They wait at night, and the cop returns to pick up his car, and they follow him to a vampire safe house. Blade corners the cop and roughs him up. The cop shows Blade a secret door, and Blade and Karen investigate. They find a collection of vampire archives. At Frost's bungalow, he finishes the translation of the ceremony that will summon the Blood God, and the cop comes in and tells him about Blade. Frost kills him. Quinn is there and growing back his arm. Frost tells him that they need Blade alive for the ritual. Blade and Karen come across Pearl that takes care of the records. Blade questions Pearl about the ritual, but Pearl lies. By the end, Karen shoots the UV light at Pearl and they get the info that they need. Blade blasts his way into the lower archives, and Quinn and some henchmen attack Blade and restrain him. Quinn stabs Blade with two of his silver spikes, but sees Blade's earpiece. A wall explodes and Whistler comes in, gun blazing. Through the fight, Karen, Whistler, and Blade make it out into the subway and try to grab a train. Quinn attacks Blade again, but manages to lose his arm again and runs away. Whistler escapes, and Blade and Karen grab a train. Inside, Blade takes his serum. Back at the hideout, Whistler tells Karen that he found Blade in the streets and raised him to live a better life and try to help gain control over his bloodthirst by creating the serum he takes. Just before sunrise, Frost and his cronies capture Dragonetti and force him to be destroyed by the sun, while they cover themselves with protection. Frost tells the others that he is in charge, and that they all have volunteered to be in the ritual. Blade gives Whistler a piece of the archives about the Blood God. Karen stole some equipment from the hospital and is now trying to make a cure for herself. She also has created an injection solution that causes vampires to explode. Karen notices Whistler cough, and Blade tells her that he has cancer. Blade walks about outside in the city, and a voice snaps him to attention. It is Frost. He confronts Frost, noticing that Frost is covered with a special sunscreen and holding a little girl hostage. Frost offers a truce if Blade will join them. He refuses and takes a shot at Frost. Frost tosses the little girl into traffic and escapes. Blade saves her and tells her to go home. Karen keeps working on her cure and is convinced that it will work on her because she was bitten, but it won't work for Blade because he was born half vampire. Frost, Quinn, and the others infiltrate the hideout. They beat up Whistler and take Karen hostage. Blade returns and finds Whistler at the edge of death. Whistler tells Blade where they are and that Frost needs his blood to complete the ritual. Whistler demands Blade's gun and tells Blade to walk away. As he does, a gunshot rings out. At the vampire stronghold, Blade enters on his bike and draws attention. Blade fights his way through the thugs and even uses the solution Karen made that explodes vampires. Blade finds Frost's room and the finished translation. Frost's bed opens and a beautiful woman gets up. It is Blade's mother, who survived the attack and is now the bride of Frost. Blade is captured and taken to the ritual chamber, where Frost grabs the solution from Blade, thinking that it is his blood serum, and tosses it away where it gets stuck. They take Karen and toss her into a pit, where she meets Curtis, her ex-boyfriend, who has now become a ravenous zombie vampire. He attacks her, but she manages to escape. Blade is taken to a chamber above the ritual space, and his mother places him into a standing sarcophagus that will cut into his wrists and release his blood. The other vampires are forced to stand in their places, as Karen finds where Blade is and manages to get him out of the machine. Blade is very weak, and Karen makes him drink her blood for strength. He gets back to full strength, but is attacked by his mother. The ritual activates and places the blood god inside of Frost. Blade, with his fight with his mother, manages to destroy her and set her free. Blade and Frost fight, and Blade manages to break his solution free with his sword and uses it against Frost, who is destroyed. In the end, Blade travels to Russia to keep hunting vampires. And with that, the movie ends. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe. It will help my channel to grow and improve.